Welcome to HealthTech Growth, the weekly podcast for healthcare founders and innovators, where we explore essential strategies to create successful and sustainable healthcare startups that improve patient outcomes and transform the healthcare industry.
Early stage funding is always tough. And sometimes because there are so many amazing ideas, how do you get your ideas out there to be super clean, understood by everybody who's hearing you? Not just the investors, but also whoever is in that audience. And can even just be, you went to a meetup, you went to a networking event. Now, getting funding in the space of healthcare, especially when you're a woman leading the change, become even more tough. And we know we love to talk about this topic, and that's why we have a mini series for Funding Her Future. And that's how my entire TED Talk is about. And we have the amazing Sarah here with us, who is running the amazing accelerator FourthWave, all about supporting women founders in this space. So can't wait to have this deeper dive and picking Cheryl's brain on how do we support women, and you as a women founder, how do you get some early stage funding? So welcome to our little warm stage.
Thank you, Sabrina. It's great to be here today.
Yeah, so I would love for you to share a little bit about your story on how did you come up about the idea of FourthWave, and what it really ignited all of us who really wanted to help this particular community and accelerator.
Yeah, so my background is in venture capital. I actually started a long time ago. You can tell by my hair I'm a little older than you. So I actually started back in the dot-com days, and I was with a group called Intel Capital, which is Intel's venture capital arm. And we grew that to be the largest corporate venture capital fund. And I did that for many years, as well as I invested with a private fund called ARV. And through all that time, there were so few women that we were, investing in, or I was on boards with. And I really missed the opportunity of having a lot of women creating, companies and investing with them. And so about 10 years ago, I really just focused on how do we get more funding, more ideas, more great technology companies built by women. And the opportunity to co-found an accelerator called FourthWave came my way with Nancy Perlman. It had been founded in LA as part of the Mayor's Tech Council in Los Angeles. And we were looking at spreading it throughout California. I happen to be in Northern California. And so we started it here in Northern California as a nonprofit with the goal of providing mentorship, leadership coaching for self-development as a leader to build big companies, and for funding, access to funding. So with those three goals, we began FourthWave in 2017, and we've helped almost 100, I think it's like 98 companies grow and develop over that time. And so we have a number of sectors, but many in the medical technology sector that we've worked with and seen some really phenomenal results.
Yeah, when me and Cheryl connected, I think we were so in tuned into one of your three pillar, which is that leadership piece. Because as we grow in company, we know we're not just growing a product, service, a business model. We're actually growing a person. And that person is where everybody gonna look up to. And that person is the front face of the company. And despite what we don't think people are staring at us and how we perform, they are. And we are creating company. Really, it's not just about the end result. It's actually creating economic support, right? You're giving jobs. You're giving people the same passion of filling a gap that you found, right? They believe in it so much. And then, of course, that means the leader is a beacon of light, of hope. And that means a bunch of us didn't really get to learn what that really mean, right? So it is a self-discovery journey that you guys doing so much work on. And then that's how we got so synchronized. Like, yeah, we do this 5-dimensional leadership and then see how things work. Because what we also see, the flip side is we can look at the deal, we can look at their financial, right, traction, lack there are, but looking at how human perform beyond the plan, right? How do they actually can implement for what they're promising? That's difficult, right? So you're betting on both the structure, but a lot of that is human capital, right? Besides what they can bring to the table. So tell us a little bit about your accelerator. I know you guys just selected your next cohort. Congratulations. So what the dynamic looks like for that accelerator?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So the FourthWave Accelerator, we've run one cohort per year. We typically have between 10 and 15 companies, all women-led, that come in and spend 4 months with us. And they get access to a one-on-one business mentor that has experience in their sector. So they work very closely with them on identifying gaps and opportunities in their business model. So really work with them on, what is unique to your company and your stage right now that you need, and having an expert helping you fill that out and bringing their network to help you do that. So that's one big aspect. The second aspect, which you just mentioned, which we can't talk about enough, is the leadership development. In the end, one thing I have learned, it's while technology and markets are very important, I would always take a strong team, over a weak team that has better technology and markets, because in the end, it always boils down to the team, because there are so many decisions that have to be made, and just obstacles and things out of left field that come at you. And it's how you and your team as a group really react to that and influence that. And we teach something that's pretty interesting. We try to get people from being to-me leaders, which 98% of the world are to-me leaders. Things are happening to me and I'm always reacting. And we try to get people into a by-me mode, which is, I am a powerful creator and I am creating my opportunities, my company, and I don't have to be so reactive. I can intentionally create and I can step into my creation power. And that takes a lot of getting out of pre-programmed mindsets that we have and that we've grown up with and lived with. And to become that powerful leader makes all the difference in navigating the world that we live in and the challenges that you're going to face as an entrepreneur. And so we have amazing leadership coaches with a number of different modalities and tools that they use. They work both one-on-one and in a group setting over 16 weeks with our cohort members. And we see a lot of transformation in that 16 weeks. And then the other aspect is working with them on their fundraising strategy. So you're probably aware, there are just a number of different ways to get funds and resources to create your business. And of course, one of the ways is venture investing, which is my experience. But there are other ways. There are grants, which are very important funding. And there's, in some businesses, their debt is appropriate. And so we really map out, what should your fundraising strategy be? And if you're going to go for investment, what type of investment? There are many different investors who are looking for different things at different stages. So really having a clear idea of what are the appropriate funding mechanisms for me. And then we help them design whatever presentation and materials that they need to go after that funding. And we have a number of investors, bankers, grant organizations that work with them to help them get their story out there so they can get the resources to grow their business.
Yeah, it's so crucial when they're early stage. I think sometimes they just jumps too many stage. steps, right? These fundamental milestone is not there yet. So they gone from, I got this idea, everyone need to know it, I have 10 different applications for this, to, whoa, okay, now you sounds very well overwhelming for people who are actually here to pay attention to you. So can you imagine all the people that you needed to grab their attention to, right? So how to get them into, there is a purpose alignment, there's the people alignment, and then how you talk about what you do, how you do, and not so scientific, not so, oh, this molecular is so special. No, people care about the actual outcome, what's in it for them. And then is based on who they talk to, right? You guys are creating that step of, perhaps is banking, grants. Yes, grants might take a little longer too, but there's many opportunity. While NIH is a little bit slow nowadays because the government changes. But what are all the options out there? Perhaps they should do multiple of them and see what's the most aligned, and able to both present themselves in a good light, as well as in, be prepared when people are asking you for the next step of due diligence, and have organized way, and not seems like, oh, I haven't thought about that, like give me a few days before I put it together, right? And that just is simply a different sophistication than, okay, I have that saved, give me a half hour after the meeting, I'll send it over, right? So it's, I think that's why leadership matters so much. That's why the entire system of business model matters so much, because it's never just one or the other, right? It's this whole integrated part. And that's why it's so hard. At the same time, it's so exciting. I think for people, it's like, wow, we're testing, we're seeing what works, we're getting all these people interested in us. And then we have to flip the switch. It's like, yes, keep that momentum. But once you get the check, then you can relax a bit. But before they actually write you a check, that verbal promise is not really there yet. So I wonder, what are some of the focuses that you guys are looking for as you are selecting your accelerators, and what has been something very exciting for you in the process so far?
Yes. So, we've designed FourthWave for companies that have some traction already. So we are not at the, I have a great idea and I need help developing it. That is not FourthWave is, I have already some traction. I had an idea, I created usually an MVP of some sort. Or I have traction around, I've created IP, I've filed patents. It could be traction around, I have one or two customers already for what I'm doing. And so that's one of the key differentiators. We're looking for companies that already have some level of traction, although like I said, we do it rather broadly. It can be one of any of those things. I have an MVP, I have IP, I have a customer, I might have an investor. But I might be missing some other things, but I have some level of traction, and I'm looking to take that to the next level. And I need to learn what milestones and what gaps I need to fill to take my business to the next level. I would say that typically our cohort members are what we would call seed stage companies. So we have some that are pre-seed. We've also had some Series A, but the majority are seed stage. So they may have already have some friends and family funding, and they've worked on their business for a little while. So that's kind of the stage. And then we really look for a growth mindset. And you guys, you can look up on the internet, but it's basically the idea that I can learn and grow, and I'm open to that. So I don't know everything, and I'm going to take advice and listen. So that's very important, because we can't help, we give a lot of advice and provide a lot of coaches and mentors. And if people aren't open to listening and taking that advice, then it's not really going to work out really well. So we actually ask a lot of questions, both on our application and in our interview, to get people who are going to be very open in terms of that mindset. And then we ask for the time commitment. to work with us over that 16-week period. And so, of course, we look at the normal things like market and technology, and we like to, find companies that do have the market size where they can grow to be significant and have a real positive impact. And we've had a number of health tech companies that are doing amazing things that have come through FourthWave. We've had Chaw Therapeutics last year, which is developing a compound that will help about 50% of breast cancer patients be treatable through immunotherapy. And we've had Deoro Devices, which was just announced, was sold to Drive Medical, which is one of the largest medical companies, that had a device that helps stroke and Parkinson's patients walk by using visual and auditory cues, which is just an amazing breakthrough. We've had Ananya Health, which has the lowest cost cryoablation treatment for cervical cancer. Novicuff, which is helping with preterm labor. And so we have, we've had these amazing women that have developed devices and therapeutics that can really improve our overall health.
Yeah, it's definitely a diverse mix of some amazing things that we all wanted to have more of. And then it's like getting in the hand of the right clinicians, the systems, right? And the right payers, and to really making this a bigger impact. And then they're so fortunate to be having a group like FourthWave. And I definitely hear you on the piece about selecting people with growth mindset. I think for us, one of the things we have all our portfolio company to sign is a CEO pledge. That pledge has some of the elements similar to you guys, is to say, I am committed to my self-growth. I'm committed to have space, committed to have resilience for my entire team, right? Is committed to be able to have open dialogue, because we know things shift, right? When you go on vacation, you come back, you're like, oh my God, all these things piled up. And of course, you won't be on the same path of how you planned out your calendar exact way as you before you got on, right? And same thing when we are so passionate about speaking at conferences, having a booth and all that jazz. You have all the handful of business cards. Now you have to follow up with everyone, right? So those tedious work, but actually builds relationship. So sometimes it can feel like, oh, it's a hiccup because it's off our routine. But we also need to know how to be able to allow ourselves to be flexible through that. Just like me, lost my voice, but I haven't been home for 4 weeks because I've been on the road for conferences, whatnot. And of course, I want to have a time with my friends when I haven't seen 4 weeks. So then it's okay. I can still show up. You can still be the spiritual self, but just not my talkative self, right? And I give myself the grace of then I slept for 12 hours. So it's that be able to have this ecosystem of what people build for the company, and also allow yourself to have your own personal ecosystem and your family ecosystem, right? And a lot of women are married with kids. They're still on the road. They're still doing everything they can. Sometimes they take their kids with them, right? And then they learn on the road altogether. And at the same time, we have our mentor system and our partnership system. It seems like a lot to manage, but I think at the end of the day is that self-growth part of, if we believe in, we can always figure things out. There's always the next end of possibility. So that led us to what truly we want to talk about, is that funding for women. Now, I think we already touched on that, right? You needed to have a structure of people that people believe in, right? You can actually do the implementation of what you promised to do. And you have a structure that very much sound to the rest of us to believe in you, to give you the funding or give you the support that you need. And you have to also be a good social promoter, right? Really champion the cause you have and get everybody else to champion. And don't have too many different story where your companies, your partner with sales team or marketing team are talking on different way of speaking. Everyone is cohesive. Everyone understand the mission. Everyone understand the motion of moving. So what else, Cheryl, have you been seeing, especially you come from the VC world and have dealt with different type of funding? What would be some of the perhaps mistakes or people just never really talk about enough that you're seeing that need to be paid attention?
Yeah, so I would say that in the health tech space, which, as I said, we have a good number of cohort companies that we've worked with, is we often see really great technical medical solutions and researchers who are brilliant and have great solutions, but do not know how to talk about it in a business context. And so the challenge for them is to really understand how how to talk about that to investors, right? Because it's very different than talking to a clinician about what you're doing, which you also need to be able to do. But they usually come to us already brilliant at that, and where they really need to learn is how do I talk about my technology and my research in a way that investors are going to understand it? And then how do I build a business model and milestones that are going to make sense for investors? So it may take me tens of millions of dollars to get it to market and through FDA, but how do I break that down into manageable milestones of 1 million or 500,000 to 1 million to 2 million? How do I break that down and hit my milestones so that I'm de-risking that $10 million investment on the way to bringing my solution to market? And that's where we are able to help quite a bit. Because typically the founders are coming out of research. We also help them find co-founders and advisors who have done this before with multiple products, so that they have a partner who this is not new to. That's also very important in getting these breakthrough research technologies into the marketplace. And that is actually the biggest challenge, whether it's in medical, whether it's in semiconductors, whether it's in AI or any other technology, is you can make it work in a lab environment, but it's very, very different to make it work at scale and to make the business economics work. And that's where that's why we work with people who already have some traction, because we kind of bring that piece to them and coach them through how you can yourself be a better speaker and leader around articulating the technology and putting your business plan together. And again, that takes a very open mind, because we say some things that some of the researchers think are crazy, but they're very logical to business people, So it's kind of bringing two different worlds together.
Yeah, I have seen both where people say, "Oh, we exited companies," and then when we start looking into, okay, you have early traction, but how come these ABC hasn't been done yet, right? So you realize that everybody's business experience is very different. So put people into of what need to be done in a systematic, viable, scalable way, and perhaps they just never exposed to that. So having the right resources in place to help them to find the right co-founder. We've seen that a lot of time is, what do I call the first day effect, right? Half year in, they're building it, it's still good. And then life changes, and their own personal interest changes. And then we have to figure out how to split them up, right? And then sometimes it's a bad business marriage, and sometimes you can actually have a good divorce. But that's really critical in how they be able to even handle that, to say it's not that someone didn't believe in your passion, your mission to keep going. It's simply just different purposeful life, right? And then be able to come back from that, grow from that experience, so you can find the right partner. It is something important. So definitely, sure, you share about a lot of great things, right? The how to talk about yourself and your credibility and your product, not in a scientific way, but the business mind people understand, as well as having a plan that actually considering the financial risks. And this is how much runway I'm going to create because I thought about A, B, C, D, E, right? And not just the arbitrary that we hear a lot. In 5 years, you're going to get 20% back. I'm like, how? Like, that's just like you barely started. And so give us the sound, logical thing that perhaps is not logical for them, right? The scientific brain, but it's logical for the other side of people and open to adapt for everything. It's amazing. We know there's so much to talk about and so much to share. There's amazing different resources we have out there, and looking forward to helping this new cohort of Fourth Wave to grow as they go into the next year. I love doing pitch rewrites, and that's why I got into the whole field to launch podcasts, doing TED Talk, right? We're talking with our emotion words, but also our body, right? Like how to stay confident on camera when you guys thinking about many times nowadays you're having a lot of Zoom meetings with investors or system leaders, and make sure your background, right, number one, is checked out besides what you're trying to present. It's something that people might not even thought about. But we're just so excited for everything that you guys are being doing. We're loving all the women's support groups, founders. And so for everyone, make sure to go check out FourthWave.io for all the additional resources, and considering applying for the next cohort as we have closed this year. So excited for everything else to come.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to mention that we're also putting a women's health event together here in Sacramento, California in November of this year. So FourthWave.io, you can learn more about that as we get closer to November.
Yay. And then since this podcast is going to come out later, and we're definitely going to keep repurposing to mention the Fourth Wave November event in Sacramento. And I can't wait to see all the beautiful mind and smart women, powerful women getting together for our field, really changing things and moving everything forward. For everybody else, whether you're listening to our podcast, watching this live on LinkedIn, YouTube, comment below. Tell us how is your founding journey? Have you tried to go through an accelerator? What's something most important to you? We'd love to hear from you, and can't wait to support you guys in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to HealthTech Growth. If you're a healthcare tech innovator or founder interested in being a featured guest on our show, visit healthtechgrowth.io to learn more.